right, and great Tuesday morning once again. Another day in the live, wherever you are. You're watching us from TBC. We're grateful you're spending your Tuesday morning with us. The team is ready.
Absolutely.
Looking resplendent. This morning, Charlie, my English come, Papa.
It's nice.
Yeah,
open the dictionary.
This English.
Yeah.
Preparing for our NAS tomorrow. But of course, it's a beautiful Tuesday, and we're grateful that you're allowing us to join you this morning in your homes. Of course, it's the best breakfast show you can ever get in the whole of the world, especially in Africa. And we bring it to you. Of course, myself, Johnny, we had a good night, and so I think today we're bringing the best. Everyone, I mean, yourself, me.
Why you said Johnny had a good night?
What was that?
Because no, I have to clarify. I meant we all seem to have had a good night. But when I said Johnny,
but
this
you said, Bright is here, and Johnny, we had a good night.
Yeah, so
Right, why does your mind travel so far to the bad side?
Which one is the bad side? I'm not asking if indeed you and Johnny had a good night.
Yes, we all did, didn't you?
Okay, all right.
You just, because they're writing English, I remembered in SHS when the English exam had to go, and you know the tags. Did you, didn't you?
Yes.
And how they used to stretch
tags.
the sentences. And some people used to make fun of it, going out, going to you, and I'm like, really? But anyway, all the best to the BC candidates out there. If you haven't studied, God, sorry.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm sure you studied something over 9 years. You certainly have something in your head. So just go out there confident. Just write whatever. Don't set your own questions, certainly, but write what you know and make sure you're writing a good stuff.
Yeah, yesterday the BEC started, but we were told that there were pockets of troubles, places where some people's, registration fees had not been paid, and they had collected monies and it's not been paid, and so the children were kept outside for quite some time. I think that psychologically itself affects the children, and they are not able to deliver on the exam. It's a bad thing. Whoever it was that collected the money and didn't push it through, must be dealt with. On the flip side, those who are not able to pay, I always keep asking the question, what is our social protection policy? Not everybody can pay. Those who cannot pay, but yet have received instruction for 9 years.
That's public schools, I guess.
Yes. Yes, but if the money is not available, if the subvention is not gone, I don't know what the full details of that particular one are, but I was heartbroken when I heard that there were
I believe most of those schools turn out to be the private schools, but my problem also is Ghana Education Service knows the schools in every district. So my worry is when you realize that getting close to the exam, you haven't had them registering for it. What do they do to step in to make sure they ameliorate the situation before the day comes? Because that is why information is sent out. So yes, if the headmaster has not brought his money as at a particular time, can't you call the school and ask that we certainly have people who should be informed to me by now, and so we're expecting you to register them.
Supervision, and you see, the circuit supervisor is not just for the public school. Private schools are also part of it. They are under your purview as well. So if you are a circuit supervisor and you have not done, that's what I'm saying. Look, people must be dealt with, because these children will have to wait for another year if the government is not able to put an intervention, WAEC is not able to put an intervention. They have to stay for a full year when their mates will now be in secondary school or SHS, and they'll be watching. For no fault of theirs.
But
I think it's backward.
Could WAEC have allowed them to write the exam, the fact that they don't have, for instance, at the Prince of Peace School in Tamale, the problem was that the proprietor did not register them, so they didn't have index numbers. Now, could they have been allowed to write the exam?
On the spot.
If you don't have an index number and you finish writing and we compile your papers, where does it go? Who do we give it to?
But maybe talking about generating the index numbers.
So we know, but we know that this is the batch that wrote the exams without index numbers. So then we can have some form of identification, whether name, and give them a particular, because if they miss this,
But you can't also encourage this. You can't also encourage this, because if you encourage it today, somebody will. I said that, look, when people do things and they don't get the consequences for it, they are tempted to repeat it.
Yes, but then the kids are those who
but usually WAEC will form a supplementary kind of exam for these children. So hopefully they don't have to wait the 1 year. Maybe in 6 months or some 9 months they will be given the chance to. But we hope all the best to them. But AJ is joining us. You remember your BC?
You are getting too dark. I
have to get
the soap.
Yeah, no, you are getting too dark. Yeah.
I need to. Fortunately, my mom is called Anita, so I have to call Anita. I'll call Anita to
give you the apple.
Vintage Papa J, man.
Oh, man is always with a boom.
But you've been asking when he is going to boom. Now he booms. Yeah, saying, Papa J, good morning to you and to the rest of the family. Yes, good morning. Good morning. Getting too dark.
All right, that news comes up shortly after this. Hello and good morning. My name is Anthony Jackson. Now, according to the Mental Health Authority, 529,000 cedis has been approved to be released from the Ministry of Health. 500,000 to 3 hospitals and 29,000 to the Ministry of Health. But this is only a stopgap measure that will temporarily sustain the running of hospitals for a short while. Earlier, the Mental Health Authority had indicated that 3 psychiatric hospitals may resort to the cash and carry system if the authority is provided with funds from government. The authority is reported to be operating on donor support since the beginning of the year and may have to shut down at the end of June this year since it hasn't received any funds from the Finance Ministry this year. Now, MP for Wejak-Bawe, Tina Na Ayele-Mensah, has cautioned BEC candidates against smuggling of foreign materials into the examination hall. Such malpractices, she warned, could affect the education and their progression in life.
The Member of Parliament gave the warning when she told some BEC centers in the Wejak-Bawe constituency. She asked the candidates not to rely on fake examination questions, but be focused. She later visited an accident victim who was knocked down by a vehicle during the Malam Kaswa Road construction.
Now we're looking at putting some barricades around the entrance of the school so that in case something of that nature happens, it will just hit the barricade and then slow down the speed that it will enter into the school before the assembly comes in to do something.
Tina Mensah urged President Kufuor to appoint an MC to speed up development in the constituency.
Still on the BEC, the proprietor of Prince of Peace, a private basic school in the Tamale Basic School, has been picked up by the police after he failed to register some pupils for the Basic Education Certificate Examination, BECE. 75 of the pupils of the school were denied entry to take part in the examination, which took off nationwide yesterday. A report by Zubaida Ismail.
The affected pupils could not find their index numbers at the center where they were expected to write the exams. Further checks showed that their proprietor did not register them for the exams. Out of a total of 79 pupils, only 4 could find their index numbers. 151 pupils reportedly paid 500 cedis each to the proprietor, out of which he registered some and allegedly pocketed 38,000 cedis. The unregistered pupils were directed to check their index numbers at the examination center, but were unable to find their names.
We are ready to write the examination, and when we came, this is happening, so we don't know how to tell our parents. He asked us to come so that he will lead us to here, so that we can check our index numbers. When we came, we couldn't see him.
Now, away from the BEC, former President Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings says he finds it difficult to believe some of the scandals that are being reported about the Akufo-Addo-led government because of the lies that are regularly peddled about him, his wife, and Special Prosecutor Martin Amir. The leader of the revolution was speaking at Adeba to commemorate the 39th anniversary of the June 4 uprising.
It's 39 years after the June 4 uprising. The commemoration of the day was held at the Medina Social Welfare Center. Present were many cadres and former ministers of state under the previous NDC administration. former president and leader of the June 4 revolution, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, said there is too much falsehood being peddled about him from within his own party, and that makes it difficult for him to believe the alleged scandals being reported about the current administration.
Some people with deeply malicious motives within our party have over the past 12 years consistently spewed falsehood about our own history and attempted to downplay the story of June 4th. Indeed, many of these personalities have shamelessly dissociated themselves from our history in a bid to create the impression that it is a blot on the image of the party.
On the party's ongoing unity walk, Flight Lieutenant Rawlings said the event should not be used to market an individual.
When we make reference to unity, it should not be a parochial agenda aimed at marketing some individuals. The unity drive should be all-encompassing, driven by the passion and desire to repair the cracks that led to 2016.
Former ambassador to Malaysia, Dan Abudakwi, expressed disappointment at aspirants of the party's flag bearership, whom he said are buying their way to power against the core values of the revolution. First Vice Chairperson of the NDC, Anita Desoso, apologized to the former president on behalf of the NDC for the vicious cycle of attacks on him.
So I will take this opportunity on behalf of the party to kneel down before my dad. Please forgive us. Let's come together to build this country. Thank you very much.
Wreaths were laid on behalf of the fallen heroes.
Now, the family of the late Major Maxwell Mahama is demanding a review of Ghana's criminal code, particularly those that border on the offense of murder. The family was at the presidency to show gratitude for government support since the demise of the late soldier.
The delegation's mission at the presidency was to thank President Akufo-Addo and Ghanaians for the several interventions put in place to comfort the family at the time of their loss. The family is of the view more persons should have been prosecuted, attributing the current development to the old provisions in the country's criminal code.
As we speak today, the trial has begun, and we believe that the justice that we require will be met. If Maxwell's death will cause a review of some processes of our criminal system, we would appreciate it.
President Akufo-Addo said major reforms of the law have been carried out as a result of tragedies that have occurred, and that the tragic death of Major Mahama can be the vehicle through which Ghana can introduce essential reforms to the country's 1960 criminal code.
The call you have made for the review of the criminal law, to me, is totally legitimate. That is the way in which we get progress in a nation. Events occur, and we look at the responses of the society, the institutions of the state, to determine whether they're adequate in dealing with the particular problem that had not been anticipated, that perhaps is coming up for the first time. And then when you look at those institutions and you look at the methods and processes, and you're satisfied that they can be improved, you've spoken about the aid of technology, which may not have been present at the time the criminal code was written. It's present today, that it will make sense for the review of the criminal law to take into account these developments in the evolution of our country and society.
The then Captain Maxwell Adam Mahama, who was part of an anti-Galamsey task force, was lynched by a mob at Dentra Boase in the central region. The gruesome murder shocked the entire nation and led President Akufo-Addo to promote him posthumously to Major, gave him a state burial, and set up a trust fund to cater for his family.
Now, transport fares were up at most stations following the 10% upward review by the Ghana Private Road and Transport Union, GPRTU. Nuang Falon reports intercity and long-distance transport operators were, however, still charging the old fare pending instructions from their management.
At the taxi and trotro stations, passengers confirmed that they were paying 20 pesos extra compared to fares last week. Our checks, however, revealed that some fares were higher and others lower than the 10% announced.
I have joined a taxi from Circuit to Accra.
When you joined the taxi, was there any change in the price you paid?
Yeah, 30 pesos.
Okay. So what was the initial price?
It was 2 cedis, 20 pesos. Then you top it 2 cedis, 50 pesos. So different is 30 pesos.
Some drivers expressed concern about the rising fuel prices.
Fuel no pay about 1 hour 30 minutes ago. Almost at Muka. Send any amakoso no microphone chill fuel no dear please.
It's one day and night. When you enter the police station, they will increase it without announcement. You see, that's a major problem. What I said, because as an increase on Friday, and now as on Monday, to have increased the petrol again, which we don't understand. The quarter, our percentage, where is it going? The leaders, where's the percentage is going? I mean, the oil fund at Tama. I think that one was supposed to repair so that we can refund the percentage of the crude oil here, so that the fuel prices will come down for the drivers and the citizens of Ghana.
Operators of intercity and long-distance buses, however, had not increased their fares, explaining the increase would take effect after a management meeting.
You're from Mohammed.
Mohammed, almost a 4 price increase in your transport fares.
There be 2 months. I train management in the Omobeka. They need to me be.
Many expressed worry about the effects of the increase on prices of goods and services.
Now, still on fuel prices, the minority in parliament says government wants to extort from the citizenry, saying that is the reason why it has allowed fuel prices to continue to increase. Spokesperson on Mines and Energy, Adam Mutawakilu, says the MPP in opposition deceived the people that if voted for, they will reduce fuel prices.
Adam Mutawakilu rejected government's defense that increment in petroleum prices is influenced by the price of crude on the international market. The Damagu MP said the special petroleum tax, which was passed by Parliament in February 2018, has outlived its relevance and should have been scrapped by the government if it wanted to check pricing. Following the increment in lorry fares on Monday, June 4, the minority reignited the pressure, accusing government deceiving Ghanaians to be voted into power.
We see that the government is deliberately allowing this price to increase when they have an opportunity to take this tax off. So we are calling on the president, for the sake of Ghanaians, and the promise that he promised when he was in opposition, to set up an independent investigative body to investigate how our petroleum revenue leaked to the tune of 1.88 billion Ghana cedis. They should act on it fast. And therefore, we, the minority, believe that government just want to extort the people and make them more impoverished. GPRTO, they have done their best. Within this year, they've increased 8 times fuel prices. And this is the first time they are making a major move. They have been able to absorb these prices to some level, but they cannot continue to be absorbing it.
Adam Mutawakilu insisted that the current increments in transport fares could have been avoided, saying the minority is unhappy the way the Akufo-Addo-led government is treating Ghanaians.
8 years of Mills and the Mohammed's administration together, it only increased by about 6 cedis. And today is 24. So within the space of 1.5 years, 10 Ghana cedis has been added. taxes alone constitute more than 40% of the price.
Adam Mutawakilu has meanwhile asked government to apologize to President Mahama and the NDC for what he calls unwarranted attacks on them in the run-up to the 2016 elections on the Ameri deal.
This is the letter from the Attorney General. This is the letterhead to the Minister of Energy and therefore government, indicating clearly that they cannot abrogate the contract. So when this is clear, and now your own legal advice says that this is the situation, just eat the humble pie and apologize to Ghanaians.
According to him, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice has declared the Mahama-led government and Ameri Energy of any wrongdoing in respect of the agreement.
We are reliably informed that the minister is engaging Medca, which was the EPC contractor, that is the subcontractor of Ameri, to agree terms with them, then they will go and buy off Ameri. But in buying off, there must be something. We are picking a tangible information that they want to extend this agreement to 15 years instead of 5 years. And that will not be good for Mother Ghana.
Away from fuel prices, the poor nature of roads at New Jerusalem and Fragai in Afinya is affecting socio-economic activity and healthcare delivery. Eva Tiboka reports construction works on the Apollonia Adenta Road has stalled since January, while the fate of Fragai is yet to receive attention.
The Apollonia Junction Road will be an alternative to the Tema Motorway, the shortest way to connect from Afinya and its environs to several other parts.
This road links from Afienya to Dodoa, Ojibi, Katamanso, Ashaman, Eburi, and Adenta. So it's a major road.
Construction works on the road began in August 2017 and was scheduled to be completed in April 2018, but work has stalled. Although one can't see construction materials like sand, heaps of gravel and wooden slabs, residents say the contractor and workers have since January not been seen at site.
The contractor has to use his own money to start the work, and it got to a point where the contractor was running out of money, so I think the state will have to come in. He has laid off most of his workers, and currently as the situation we face right now, the contract has been abandoned.
Drivers plying the stretch are complaining incessantly about the instant breakdowns they experience and the cost of maintenance of their vehicles. Commercial drivers would therefore charge exorbitant fares. Although still under construction, defects are already visible.
If the project delay, there are a lot of issues will affect that project. And this also leads to a situation whereby you see a road is constructed within a period of time, the surface have been scraped off.
Dr. Ebenezer Malcolm says output will at the end be affected in respect of inflation and quality of materials bought already. Also at Afrinya Fraga, the road leading to two health facilities is also in a poor state. Residents are making effort to repair it on their own, but the efforts are still not making the impact.
There's a cheap compound here and there's one health center they will come here with their promises after the election, then that's all.
And now to some international news. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said Russia is not trying to split the European Union. His remarks come ahead of a visit to Austria, his first trip to a Western European country in nearly a year. He told Austria's ORF station he wanted a united and prosperous EU, calling the bloc Russia's most important commercial and economic partner. He also downplayed reported links between his United Russia Party and Austria's far-right Freedom Party. And that's all for the news for this morning. Newday returns shortly after the break.
Welcome back. Happy 50th birthday to my big sister, Harriet Hughes. She looks 27. 50 never looks so cool. God bless you, big sis. And from all of us here, happy birthday. BNFT this morning reports that stability will solve a lot of problems. Edward Ifa says so. He's optimistic. Rise in public debt stifling growth. Then implement feed-in tariff to encourage use of solar power. Those are the details on the front page of the Business and Financial Times for this morning, the 5th of June. Daily Guide says First Sky sponsors kidney transplant for Kolebu, and NDC grabs 8 million from Nyantichi's friend for Mahama 2016 campaign, and BEC takes off. Stop bleaching. Rawlings jabs Anita. Soldiers arrested for kidnapping. Sa Samananu and yet Munjai Sanyamanu. Yesterday, President, you were speaking. I betray. Ghanaian Times. Newmont Consa fined 2.7 million for death of 6 and injury to 4 workers. BEC students' fate in limbo after principal failed to register them for exam. And mixed reactions greet transport fare increases. NDC apologizes to former President Rawlings. Those are the stories there on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. You can grab the copy of the paper and get the details. Daily Graphic this morning says, hope for kidney patients. Free transplant at Kolebu from September. Chief Justice should be fair. And over demand on the EC investigations, Professor Ed Mondele is the CPP's party chair. And Newmont DRA to pay $2.5 million fine over a mine incident. And presidential staffers issued with Ghana card yesterday. A kick-started. We're told earlier of a sabotage technical hitch, but finally the Ghana cards are in session, and we thank God. The finder says Ghana card at last comes with a photo of a happy Professor Ken Atefua, who's been bashed left, right, center. Issuance began at Jubilee House yesterday. The cost will tell you what is changing. Government religious bodies negotiate over handing over of mission schools. World Bank approves $50 million for a Greek, and NDC leadership kneels, ask for forgiveness from Rawlings. Mining audit in the offing. Ameu says so. Those are the details there on the front page of the Finder newspaper for this morning, the 5th of June, 2018. And I'm sure those are that's all the papers we have for this morning. Let's grab the details now. Yeah. Yesterday, Anita Desoso knelt before the president. But she said on behalf of the party, did she get clearance from the party to push out? Well, at least the party has not said, they haven't asked her to go and apologize, so it's okay. But my take-out...
In the face of the fact that they recognize that there's some disunity or there are factions in it, I think even though she may have gone on a personal errand, but speaking for the party, I think there's too much, talking against each other and the lambasting, and I think in that spirit, in the fact that they were celebrating or commemorating June 4th, and you know how, Mr. Rawlings has been very instrumental in the formation of NDC. I think on that platform it was just right for one of them who would step out and give that bold statement to apologize. Even if it was in her personal view, I don't think the NDC will come and, go against it and say they didn't send her and so this is not something they want. But apologies were accepted.
So perhaps she could have been
speaking on behalf of the party.
To come and say that.
So I think it's just
if we're talking about unity, for example, you remember in the run-up to the 2016 election, it was the NDC that kept saying that the MPP is in disarray, it's cracked, and they are the most unified party. So I'm wondering, just a little over a year, maybe, after the election, what happened?
It's always when you're in opposition that, these things are heightened. As for the disunity, it's in every party. Yes. But when you're in opposition and everyone seems to now be finding their footing, trying to find a new leader and all those things, you realize people,
I think that sometimes it's not just about the opposition. The MPP has its own set of troubles, even in power. Right. The political parties are not truthful to the electorate. They don't tell us the truth. And you see, they try to hide everything. In Ghana, once people take entrenched political positions, whether the thing is good or bad, they protect it, they defend it, and they may even insult, for it. Here we are now. But for me, the big call was by President, and Ms. Tisoso couldn't say whether she was indeed bleaching or she was not bleaching, you know, but that sends out a major call to everybody out there that bleaching certainly is not good.
Yeah, agreed. But also Newmont, you know, has been fined, and I'm happy because oftentimes we have these issues coming up, the you know, repercussions happen, people die, and we just let it go. But at least there will be some relief, and maybe we'll send that caution to other mining agencies to be careful how they practice, to ensure that they're using the best standard of practices in their various working environments. So it's not only for the mining sector, across board, wherever institution you're in, let's make sure that our workers are secure, and also the workers have that right to ask or demand. Especially, I've realized in Ghana, we don't do that pre-medical examination, pre-employment, and so they come after retirement, and then you've had complications, but you can't, you know, fine the institution for it because you don't have the pre-employment status of what your state was. Let's say if you're in good health or not. And so it's highly important.
I think that some employers demand for that, but the test that, look, if I'm going to be digging trenches and you're asking to know my blood type, and you're asking to know some other mundane stuff, that's not relevant to me. You should ask whether to know if my vertebra is
that's what I'm saying. So
correct.
We don't take occupational health seriously.
The kind of test that we demand from these would-be employers or workers, it doesn't commiserate with the work that they do. There's no collaboration.
Exactly, because we don't take occupational health seriously. Because at this point, when you have an institution, you're supposed to have an occupational health specialist telling you what is appropriate for that institution, not just anything. Like, what is the relevance of doing a syphilis test for, like you said, mining?
Exactly.
So you know, it's part. It will be important if you know, but that's not the primary focus of the person who's
Somebody's
going to work
in a restaurant. He's going to work in a kitchen and be tossing things, oil flying and steam and everything, and you're asking the person to go and check for what? Syphilis or HIV.
Okay.
So, I mean, there are those things we have to look at. So we have to move away from that.
I think the key thing is what you said, that at least when they've been fined, it serves as a deterrent to others. For me, the biggest story today is on the Daily Graphic, the kidney patient. I think that several people have asked that, hey, look, if a national health insurance cannot cater for ailments that people struggle to treat because of the cost of treatment, then it is not a health insurance that you have.
I agree. I agree.
Kidney transplant free for patients, for me, is the biggest news today. The only thing that I'll raise is that it is led by a private entity, which means that if it is a project, if it is a program, if the funding runs out, then we're back to square one. Every year during World Kidney Day, we see the many who are suffering, who will have to go through dialysis. The cost alone is draining and killing many families. This one, I think the guy, the First Sky Group, is a great job for me. If indeed it will allow patients who cannot afford to do it now to be able to do it. Let's hope. I am thinking that this is a project government must take and own. We cannot live in a country where some sicknesses cannot be dealt with because of the cost. I mean, the state's job is to protect
you see, while we push government to also look at funding some of these things, we must also look at regenerative health. What are people doing which would make them more susceptible to some of these ailments or conditions? We must, as a nation, start looking at it. And we must move away from the after effects, the cure, and look more at preventative medicine. Okay, so people are eating from a lot of plastic packs. Okay, they buy their noodles, whatever it is, then they get home, it's cold, they put the pack in the microwave and warm it. Does it have health implications? We must start asking those questions. People buy hot wache in poly bags. Does it have health implications? We must look at it. So it's not enough to just punch the government to say, come and support. Of course, it's their duty to. But what causes those things? If we're able to mitigate them, you know, we can solve. Because look, over the weekend I went to 37 Military Hospital. Pregnant women who had come to the hospital in labor, and those who had just delivered their babies were on the floor, bare floor, with their children. These are 1 day old, 2 day old.
Even at 37.
Yes, 37. Bare floor. Same thing, Kolebu, bare floor. So if we're going to put all our money into kidney, and I'm not saying it's not good, but we need to, as a country, start rethinking some of these things.
We certainly, and it's not, I mean, apart from the education, we can't say it time and again, but also it comes to the citizenry in understanding where you should go and what you should
protect yourself.
Because, Johnny, most of these cases that come about are also people who delay and even seeking treatment when they identify some of the problems, and also where they go to seek the treatment. You're being treated for malaria over and over and over again. You're not getting results. You don't even attempt to go to a tertiary facility to find out if the diagnosis could be different. You know that in our system there are many loopholes and people fill them. That's why we have fake doctors who are being proliferated. You also have on the, in the buses, people advertising all manner of medications in herbal forms. Yes, there are some good herbal medications, but because we don't even know some of these ones that have not been tested and approved by FDA, can we start to also burden the citizenry with finding out information, asking things for yourself? This same drug cures everything from head to toe. How is that possible? It doesn't work that way. As much as it may be cheap, and because person A says, oh, it worked for me, doesn't mean it will work for person B. Can we just attempt to go to the hospital, ask the questions, ask a pharmacist, what is it? Do I need this? Is it right for me? At the end of the day, we're there to also have this communication. It's not like when you come to a doctor, they're going to shout at you or sack you. You can come ask the questions.
See,
is it okay for me to take this? Because it's many of these herbal preparations in our system that is killing people.
There's also, I agree, and even now, how the herbal medicine has been complicated. But then you go to the hospital, and I had an experience. I went to the hospital, and a lady friend of mine has been hospitalized. So I rushed there. They called me. I made some payments, and I asked, okay, can I know what's wrong with the patient? Because she was not in a position to explain. And everybody was saying that if you know, what will you do with it?
That is unfortunate because it's not you.
Then I went to the
problem there is that they can't inform you because you are not the person in their care.
Okay.
We owe the duty to the patient. That's why there's a doctor-patient confidentiality. Unless the person gives the doctor permission to, divulge information to you, and I wish that would be done.
The person gave out my number, and they had a guts to call me.
Right.
If you call me and I'm spending my money, I should know what I'm spending my money on.
Yes, but that
don't I deserve that? Don't I deserve that?
So basically, what they can tell you is maybe we're buying drug A because the person has an infection.
Beautiful. So tell me that. Exactly. You can't tell me the details, but tell me what you're spending for.
No,
so I left the nurses and I went to the doctor and I asked the doctor, and the doctor sat me down and explained to me.
Exactly.
And I'm saying these are the nurses. The doctor will go home. They will administer the injection and everything else, and they are not even ready to tell me. So you go to a doctor, he looks at you, and he'll say, okay, then some of them, not all of you, they start writing the medicine. He says, take it to the pharmacy. You go to the pharmacist, he looks at it, he says, Fawe, 2, Anapa, 2 area, 2 enumere, and 1. They don't tell you what it is that you are treating, whether you have an allergy, whatever it is. So you are just taking medicine. And sometimes they realize after a week that, oh, perhaps you had an allergy, and then they swap it at your cost.
Exactly. Johnny, I so agree with you. And it's the health system again, where people think that in the older system, we used to practice a hand-me-down kind of, what the doctor says is final. But now we've moved on. It's a place where you can have interaction. So you can ask. If the pharmacist or the doctor does not give you the information, you have the right to ask. And at that point, every person is obliged to give you that information because it pertains to you. That's why I'm saying that education has to move where we also empower the citizenry to identify that they have that power to ask questions. Don't just take it as it is and in the end go and die because of these
I will ask questions. But the Ghana card is here. You got your card?
Yes, no. But it hasn't come down to sit ordinary.
Okay. We are ordinary. Yes. You are becoming too dark.
I'll borrow the
All right. So let's move on to some other issues this morning. And we're talking about, is it a BC?
Yes,
BC. Of course, the fallout. Quite... good day one, but let's see what...
But, educationists have been asking for us to reduce the number of subjects because of the time frame in which these children have to literally cram and, give back information.
I'm not an educationist, but I don't believe that we need to reduce the numbers. I believe that we need to spread out look, I say, for even people in the university, they study 6 courses in a semester, and that's what they are tried on. Even that they have 2 weeks to write their exam at least. People sit for their SSE or WASI. They have a month, maybe 2, spread over with practicals to write their exam. These kids, 2 papers a day in a week, 5 days. Why? Now, the exam they are writing encompasses what they have learned from primary 1 all the way to JHS 3, plus all the extra classes and things that they may not have been taught in school. It's so unfair. I mean, where are the child psychologists? Well, are they there?
Johnny,
do they know? Because when I wrote, Senior Bright, when I wrote my BEC, it was 12 papers, and it was spread a paper a day. It was spread.
If you ask me, I would suggest that we push them to senior high school. I mean, the classroom exams should be able to push them to the next level, so that we scrap it.
So you agree with Hassan Ayariga when he says we should have a straight 6-year thing, and at the end of the 6th year, no, just like they do for the old secondary school system.
We have ranted enough. Let's see what your views are on this issue as we rant with George Quinn in this morning.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
The 2018 BEC has started, and over 500,000 candidates are writing this examination. It's expected to end this very Friday, and there have been some concerns here and there. Head teachers failing to register students despite payment of registration fees, and some educational experts have called for the reduction of subjects written by these students. And so we are discussing matters arising with regards to the examinations. This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
Me, I'm coming from a progressive background. Yeah, kind of number of times say BEC should be scrapped. Because if you look at the way we are subjecting these little kids to this massive form of cracking of their brains, say, cultural exams, a bimokrafa who yari wunia. Yeah, true important. At the end of the day, we say product in a BEC banu. What do we do with it? You know, Ghana had the least certificate of SSE. BEC one a bisa for now. So what do we say encourage say intro BEC? Inti ya kase BEC na bayanka binding fancy shembra. Nanka kwalanu do JSS rewa. There should be a bit a form of assessment. Nankwala ni ye migrate omunienya continuous education. Nanka SSC nimba ye the least certificate and only by the first exams or bachelor, then the student can enter into university and any tertiary education. But send a ya dear no share and kwala omo at this time. Near so subjects university can you how many in a day. No more within a week, almost 9-11 subjects and I think say courses now too much. But
maybe true of you.
But the issue is that some competent students, we baby are falling in. Issue not you know on
so you're good at maths. Okay.
What I say? I don't know a base are bedding from so dance. Yeah, time crazy be the life skills. Minimum life skills.
Life skills.
What I say, make it a new impact be our obiso. It's why it might have impact on somebody, but me impact be our
one vocational studies.
Me vocational.
Calabash
faso be amaso. Nini no masa. No jaja. Nini
no obi o how busa na any trade. Ene ya me no kasa ukọ
we have people vocational because I said they are trading yes calabash.
Whatever it is, no.
Business. So what are you talking about?
No, me my challenge with BEC a time. So because I akwala nko now unko 2 papers a day. It is frustrating coming from a teacher's background. Say obi a me mesua there as a teacher. I minimum say na prepare for exams. Akwala no I was say otumi segregate subjects no. Okay. It is a one man no enough time. Even at the university, what we do is that you are given about 2 days. So that you'll be able to separate the first one you wrote from the second one you are going to write. French and English the same day. What frustration are you putting the child through? maths and science the same day. How would the child be able to separate the maths from the science? Whatever it is, even if they are going to write 20 subjects. Me, my call is that at least they should have 24 hours, 48 hours interval between the first paper, the second, the third. Each of the papers no better. Also, at least 48 hours. No, they prepare enough because it requires some form of preparation.
For me, because it's too much. Also, more catibi also. Now, is it a 10 5 crank, okay?
No, 5. Serious. Meanwhile, to the next level, no, I'm demanding 6. So if they are demanding 6, now say woman call chance on selected just 6 or selected 6 now. Make us say you was secondary school. Now we had the opportunity to write about 8. Then you go with the best 6. Now me mate be a friend of Kondobre or say and you mele capable awela. It's capable and say no better 6. You see, when you write the 6, and unfortunately on the day of writing the last paper, you fall ill or something happens. Now when me am pass here, then it means you will not qualify to enter the next level. You think 6, 7. Now can call your more opportunity no 7, 8. So that going to the next level, no, they will pick the best 6. It's fine, but we show them such in 10. Why is they need only 6? It's also frustrating.
It is like the almost say be akola bedding be news. What do you think?
No, I say
what they say you fees
parents have paid your fees.
Now who doing say that you about school fees? Who doing say the abema ube iska ofia ma omodidi ofi? Who doing there's a lot.
I said you provide them the food and everything.
No, so get the time to learn like that.
No, so
because as a child, you don't have any burden. Learn and then pass.
But you can't just
no. It can be assessment, but not external like
Yenya policy no. Yenya continuous assessment as education. And kwalano from primary classes whatever. No, let me land. Odu JSS Odu JSS. Meba oh nyabotre. The work say have I thought it's a policy about to be we shouldn't stick to one side.
No, I've worked. No. As a teacher, I've worked on continuous assessment before, and I've worked with other teachers. Remember, I've worked with other teachers who have worked on continuous assessment before. You see, continuous assessment can never, mark my words, never be processed based on merit.
Okay.
It can never be processed based on merit because Ebiamene Kalis Wahon. Kalis Yaminia. I am working on it. He is my pupil. Trust me, definitely I'll favor him. Kondia is not my cousin. Omushe, I will push him down. But you see,
nobody knows you.
No. Even at the university level, it happens. Because especially in your Mugun, what one boy here,
it's of no relevance to the kids. Yes, Yenya policy, Yenya continuous education. Nkwalano do JSS 3 year. Yenka said there shouldn't be any form of assessment. But and say they show more dreams or more school. Which level of school? Where you more baby at the end of the day, if you're no more people which would from that stage to motherhood. Because we're school, no are dying it, teenage pregnancy. Still they are in the education system. What do we do? JSS there, control exam, internal exams. Those who will be able to perform based on their year Kenyan. Now, you graded to a more what do you call it, senior secondary school. Then we prepare them as they are moving toward that. You are good in this. But that barrier. Baba Show say JSS Omoncho BEC no mun school.
Okay, but what do we do with that? What the problem education system no into me guide from the scratch.
Theory
say
the teacher himself.
To me guide you as to say who kono do level be e be do SHS one kasa be so okay this is what I want to do.
Want to do yes.
Unlike yeah the developed countries no. Who do certain ABA who ankasa system no guide you as to what you want to do. So that say but I had an antisa after teacher ni create maintenance na wa fro say wono say now tintino wono teacher no choose course amount.
Can you imagine?
It happens.
Question I me person be say won say over the years no enkwala omo chro BEC omo failing where are they?
Okay, where are they? Yeah.
Where are they?
But see, I think they are bringing that way now. So
yes,
you can write again.
Because that was say omo catch say 500 and something thousand kwala no omo. At the end of the day no we share trend na. At the end of the day no cho yini nyina wi less than half no money entry to the SS. SS no so ye less than half no money entry. All those who have been truncated, where are they? And so you see that BEC has contributed to more streetism than any other in the history of this country. In any other examination. Because 500,000, 100,000, echo SSR. 400,000, where are they?
At least they'll be doing something.
They are part of our system. They have to eat. They have to survive. Their parents think and majority may be from the poor homes. Majority will be from the poor home. We have to feed. Then what happened to the street? They live on the street. Some other social vices and the rest. So why don't we have a policy? They replace BEC. At the end of the day, and for life will not be truncated on the fact to say what BEC were failing.
Okay, so these are the concerns coming from the public. The 2018 BEC has started. We want to wish all these candidates a fruitful examination. Do not engage in any more practice. Thanks for watching. Good morning.
This is what it feels like.
All right, and the papers are ready. You've seen some of them, the front pages, the Finder, Daily Guide, the Times, and the BNFT, all of them, with very interesting stories. Hope for kidney patients, that's on the front page of the Daily Graphic. Ghana card at last. Yesterday, officials at the Jubilee House got their cards. The Ghanaian Times talks about the Newmont Consa issue. They've been fined $2.7 million. Daily Guide, NDC grabs $8 million. That's the latest in what is expected to be a bombshell tomorrow, if it comes off. Certainly will give you some tickets before the show ends. You got to stay with us. My guest this morning, the Member of Parliament for the Lejokuku constituency, a member of the NPP, Dr. Bernard Okuboy is here. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Hope you are doing great.
He's also called Lejokuku Jay-Z.
Oh, okay. That's his nickname. I see. All right. Welcome once again to the show. And then former Deputy Trade Minister and a member of the NDC, former Member of Parliament for the Nanton constituency, Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed is also here. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing good.
Inshallah, we can't complain.
Thanks for your time with us. Let's start this conversation from here. It's a big one for tomorrow. At least that's what we know. The expectations are very, very great. We're told that from Yantichi's issue, $8 million. My friend gave Mr. Mahama for the 2016 campaign. Now, it is imagined that the Arabian investor at the center of the Aremia Anas investigative piece that has caught the GFA president in the web allegedly gave the NDC $8 million. That was to support re-election of Mr. John Mahama. The bombshell by the beleaguered GFA couple in a statement to the CID is beginning to form part of the allegations being investigated by the police service. It turned out that the person, name withheld, who posed as the agent for announcing the interview with Mr. Yantichi, made sensational claim to the effect that a sheikh supported the NDC's campaign with $8 million. The Anas agent, according to Mr. Yantichi, claimed the sheikh was ready to do the same for the NPP administration in exchange for contracts in the oil industry, indicating that he had held similar discussions with the Mahama administration. Now, as a result, Mr. Yantichi reportedly told the said individual that if the party that lost the election had been given $8 million, then the sheikh should be prepared to give a similar amount or more to the party that won the election and formed government. That's the NPP. It emerged that Anas investigators started with football matters, particularly sponsorship of the Ghana Premier League, but ended up discussing oil matters. That's the story as put out by the Daily Guide. And let's start from here. Comrade, no, it's the NDC that is mentioned. That's why I'm coming to you. Even though the story said that the NPP was
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Receiving funding from international sources, political parties, politics, it's illegal.
Well, yes, first and foremost, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers and our Honorable Lejokuku Jay-Z, who happens to be a very good friend of mine. I thought that I have always told him that he was doing well at the hospitals and he abandoned it and he has engaged this tumultuous, venture of politics. And of course, your good self, beautiful tie. And
you want him to join the NDC cross carpeting camp?
He's a fine gentleman. I mean, the NDC would love to have him. I mean, we have few of such in the NPP. So if we have a person like that, I really would love that.
Let's go to the cover.
He joined the NDC. I want to believe that for some time he was in NDC. Sometimes politics. But and let me also say good morning to the good people of Nantong constituency and urge them to maintain the peace that we have had. I know that the party people have filed to contest for constituency elections. I wish everybody well. I don't support a specific candidate. I have insulated myself from the campaign. At the end of the day, they go and elect people, whoever they elect. If I intend to contest, I'll come and contest, and that's all. I don't support a single candidate, and I'm not involved in that election. So I just want to use this, privileged opportunity to state that. But let me say that all this attempt, this preposterous attempt that is masterminded from the Flagstaff House through one of the Deputy Chief of Staff, through Evans, Mensa, and the multimedia will not work. I'm saying this because the story was carried.
You're not here.
Please, the story was carried. The story was carried on Joy.
The $8 million.
Yes, it was carried on Joy, and it was Evans. So it's legitimate that I state this. I sent him a message this morning. I'm yet to receive a response from him. It is done in order to sow confusion.
So the fact that it was carried on Joy, that is why you're
there are a lot of information. There are a lot of information, but I'll come to that. We have, if you just allow me a minute. You see, this attempt is done in order to sow confusion, ostensibly to deflect attention, and from the issues that we are doing to stifle public discourse. And the outstanding allegations that are made by Mr. Nyantechi captured in the investigation on no less a person than His Excellency the President and the Vice President. I did indicate on this program that both the President and the Vice President are accomplices in this allegation of corruption that is being done. The MPP, in their most amateurish way of deflecting and stifling public discourse, started by using Honorable Mr. Kinida Japan. Because, credibility-wise, it's nothing to write home about. He was the one, and he's been the one they started using to question the integrity of Anas Armiao Anas. He brought in another person from Tamale who has no any credibility whatsoever to attack the integrity of Anas. And all these things was done ostensibly, to discredit Anas, so that they can find some cover for the president and the vice president. Because what is exposed in the video of Anas, who will be aired inshallah tomorrow, is so damning to the integrity of the person they describe as incorruptible. But what I said here, and I will repeat it here, no amount of desperate attempt that is being used to clean the president, they can use the entire perfume in Arabia to wash President Nana Addo and the vice president. They will still be smelling corruption. Now, let's interrogate the issues. In the first place, they are not saying that the statement was made or captured in the video. If they care to know, President Mahama was also given the opportunity to watch the video. If indeed President Mahama's name was mentioned in the video on the basis of an allegation of money given to him, it would have been an issue. How come that it took them such a long time to be able to tell us? And you know what they did? I listened to Joy FM this morning, and it was appallingly bizarre, extremely amateur, that they said that the person's name was Sheikh. There is nobody called Sheikh. Sheikh is not the name. They were not even smart enough to realize that Sheikh is not a name. That the person is called Sheikh. And that he made those statements when he was invited for interrogation. In the first place, Mr. Nyantakyi is a lawyer. A very intelligent lawyer. Mr. Nyantakyi is aware that by law it is illegal for any foreign body to finance any political party as a means of influencing our electoral decisions in Ghana. It's a crime. Mr. Nyantakyi is aware. Now, how come and how on earth could anybody imagine that having been conscious of the legal implications, Mr. Nyantakyi will appear before an investigative team and said that, yes, my friends gave the NDC 8 million. In the first place, admitting that NDC was given 8 million and President Mahama was given 8 million is an admission of guilt. It's an admission of guilt. They are so unintelligent. It's an admission of guilt. Now, if Mr. Nyantakyi claimed, as they are purporting, to have said that, it means that Mr. Nyantakyi is admitting that, yes, every single thing, all the allegations that are leveled against me in the wake of me taking money, giving the president 5 million and giving the vice president $3 million are true. Mr. Nyantakyi would be the last person to make that statement. Two, having tried desperately using Canada Japan to question the integrity of Anas Amiao Anas, the thing failed. At the time Canada Japan started attacking Anas, not a single member of the MPP, not a single leading member of the MPP questioned the modus operandi of Kennedy Japan and the needless and baseless attack on Anas until just yesterday, when the majority leader purported to have indeed questioned Canada Japan statement and even said that Canada Japan statement never represented the NPP. And also the the vice chair of the MPP in Ashanti region. Now, how come that none of them, because it was masterminded by the government, Canada Japan was willing to do that bidding. The thing backfired. Now, they then went back and said, look, let's find another strategy. And that strategy is that let's bring in President Mahama and the MPP into the picture by using a said name, Sheikh. Joy FM, I am asking them if they are so professional, please. Let me land on this. Yes, if they are so, please. I'm just asking the story was carried there, and I need, yes. I'm saying that TV3, if you have a story that says that Mr. Nyantakyi in the investigation that was done, he admitted that yes, some monies were given, and NDC was given $8 million. It was given by one sheikh. Wouldn't you be interested in wanting to know the name of the sheikh? Would you want to carry such a story?
A sheikh is a Muslim.
It's a sheikh. No, look, a sheikh is, it can just be Mr. A sheikh is a person with wisdom, a person with profound knowledge. Now, people just use sheikh is not a name. I can say sheikh. We have Sheikh Isikwe. Are you getting it? Sheikh bin Salman. Sheikh, so you can, in simple terms, it can be like Mr. Now, how can you say one sheikh? Because they have an agenda. Now, if a story like that is brought to you, and then you would want to find out and just a sheikh, would you want to carry a story that is talking about a serious allegation of bribe and also monies given by a foreign body to influence our electoral decisions in Ghana, that you carry such a story and you say that by that sheikh, and they carry such a preposterous story? Let me state this very clearly.
Your point is that Mr. Nyantakyi could not have given this information to the CID? Is that your point?
You see, first and foremost, if Mr. Nyantakyi makes that there isn't any way to verify whether indeed that story is even true, they claim that their intelligence and that a senior officer at the forensic unit of the Ghana Police Service has confirmed that who is that senior officer, nobody knows. I'm saying that in any case, the video will be aired tomorrow, inshallah. Nowhere in the video did they mention President Mahama's name. Nowhere did they mention that President Mahama was given $8 million through any investor.
Okay, wrap up for me.
Nowhere in the video did they say that President Mahama was given any $8 million. And that is why, smartly, even though unintelligently, that the multimedia, through Evans Mensah and Joy, said that that statement was made when he appeared before the investigative team of the forensic unit of Ghana Police Service, and that he gave more damning revelations. If he says that, then it means that Mr. Nyantakyi is admitting. As a matter of fact, our checks have indicated that Mr. Nyantakyi, in his statement to the police, denied flatly, completely all the allegations. Now, if indeed he denied completely all the allegations against him, for which reason the president, on the basis of nothing, instructed that he should be investigated and perhaps arrested, Mr. Nyantakyi could not, at the same time, deny the allegations that are leveled against him in the video, and then at the same time saying that, yes, my friends gave money to the NDC and the NPP. Now, I have read somewhere, and they are also saying that Mr. Nyantakyi said, listen,
I'm going to Dr.
Let me just conclude on this. I have read somewhere.
Just 30 seconds.
Yes, I have read somewhere, and someone has also written that Mr. Nyantakyi said that those who investigated him, who posted as their investors, that they told him, listen, Anas's team, the Arabs he had who got him, that they told him that they gave the NDC $8 million, and they gave President Mahama and the NDC $8 million. Now, assuming without admitting that they told him that, they were just lying to you to get information from you. Okay. It's as simple as that. It's shameful.
I'm grateful.
It's shameful. You see, when propaganda so often disguised as journalism,
no,
ethics of the
my worry is that since they are not here.
Who is not here? Have I said anything?
The multimedia group, Evans Mensah,
have I said anything? Please, have I said?
Except that you said you heard the story on the network.
Right. Have I said
but when
anything?
You mention them, they are not here to defend themselves.
I haven't accused anybody. I am just reporting. I'm just talking the things that they said, and I'm saying that when you have propaganda so often disguised as journalism, ethics of the profession are thrown to dogs.
I am grateful. I'm grateful. Dr. Okuboy, now, if indeed what we're hearing that NDC was given 8 million and same or more was to be given to the NPP, then it is illegal. Of course, our laws are against that.
Yeah. First of all, let me say a very good morning to all your viewers. And
you didn't greet me.
Let me say a very good morning to Mutala. Yeah, and then your good self, right? Also to my brother Niteko Tego, he's a staffer at the Jubilee House, then Flagstaff House, now Jubilee House. Yeah, Teko, you know, that has always been my position. When people make claims or allegations, we must how do you call it? We must be careful in making conclusive statements. Claims ought to be investigated. Once they are established, then they carry weight. Otherwise, we can bastardize people, we can do things to people just because of claims. Just two quick rebuttals. My brother mentioned that a deputy chief of staff is doing some machinations and all that. For now, like I said, all are claims. You know, you can throw claims out there. Also, he said the comments by Anats are so damning of the person we claim to be incorruptible. You see, that's how. I didn't say comment by Anats.
I said the expose.
The expose, yeah. And you see, if I've not been in politics for maybe 30 years, like people have been back.
That's why we have to get back to the hospital.
The few years I've been in politics, and those who have been for long will tell you, people use the association with significant people to solicit for things, sometimes even on their blind side. So it is not strange at all if you meet any experienced politician. It will not be strange to hear that the name of a significant person, as significant as the president, was used or was being used to leverage or to get something. And that is why the president, through to his nature, immediately reported to the CIA that you have to look into this, because these are integrity issues. And honestly, the 40 years plus of his pursuit into political office, the highest one, is not motivated by material gain.
It is.
You see, it is based on a. I was quite well explained. It is based on a firm foundation that those who are privileged to have what they need and what they want, must do well to help others to stand on their feet. Right, the ANAS principle, and I'm stating this is the party position, government position. The ANAS principle is not a principle that we are against. In fact, the president has said exactly. The party believes that.
I think prior to
yes, during one of the debates.
We are talking about when he is the president now, so he hasn't said anything about ANAS.
President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, now as the president of the republic, has not anywhere in his speech, whether verbal or written, condemned the modus operandi of ANAS. We've had some of our party people, my senior in parliament, Ken, having strong issues with ANAS. And he has stated reasons why. I'll come there. But for now, all I want to say is that the ANAS principle is a principle that helps to let people act with some caution, you understand, in terms of yielding to bribery and corruptible acts. I always give the example of the police on the highway. Most drivers behave themselves because they assume that it's possible you meet a policeman on the highway. In fact, if drivers should be told that this weekend all policemen have been resigned to the barracks, nobody on the highway, it is possible that you see some people going haywire. Now, when you see a driver who has been caught because of overspeeding, remember he's not the only person. There are many. But the system is such that it takes some people to fall in the condition. It's the same with ANAS. And I am honest enough to say that not all politicians are angels. If I don't want to say all of us are not angels, some might claim to be angels, not all. So when ANAS succeeds in getting one or two people caught in the act, it is a further reminder to all of us that you have to act with integrity in all your dealings. You understand? And these are my initial comments. Because president's name was mentioned, I'm talking about His Excellency. I've heard people from the other side who try to say that, we said he's a corruptible person and all that. But see what I learned is coming from Nyantechi. Assume it's so. I'll not say definitely so. But if this...
Daily Guide is reporting.
Yeah. So yes, but I'm always cautious of my statements. Daily Guide is the one reporting. I mean, I don't have reasons to doubt. Yes. I don't have reasons to doubt Daily Guide or Joy. But I choose my words carefully. Assuming without admitting that these were the things that came from Nyantechi. This is a claim just like what he might have claimed in the video. Should I also go on the tangent and say that Mama is worst off? If assuming president is going to get 5 years, he's going to get 8 million. Yes. But I'll know that is a funny road to take. The most important thing is that the claims ought to be investigated. It is when we establish substance in any of them that we can start running with it. But for now, it is only for our own also integrity issues, not to go to certain levels. Let's be calm and patient. Let's wait for the video. And you know what? Remember, Sir Blatter. Blatter was assumed and preached as one of the most, incorruptible men when it comes to sports and all that. I remember even Nyantechi defending him. I remember people telling Nyantechi, be careful. Oh. Later when the reports came out, he resigned. In all this, I've said it. It is not about Nyantechi, it is not about us. It is about upholding values that will help our football to go to higher levels. Look, today we are not at Russia. My brother Bright, we are not at Russia not because we lack technical abilities to play at that level. I am convinced it's managerial issues. And the same thing happened to us in Brazil. Look, we played with Germany, I think it was a draw game, right, in Brazil, before we came home. And they went ahead to, I think, win the World Cup. So I tell people that...
But we're the only team they couldn't be.
Exactly. So it is a clear demonstration that this was a team that had what it took to go to the highest level. What brought us home was managerial issues. And at the heart of it is some of these corruption issues. Let's try and address them.
So we should hold it and wait for it.
Right. You see, we need to make something very clear. That story was cooked. In the first place,
that is what you think.
Right. In the first place, the story is a lie. In the second place, it is made from the position of hate. In the third place, it is meant to stifle public discourse of the expose that has indicted the president and the vice president and put to question the integrity and the so-called incorruptibility of the president, which is fetished.
Okay, but we are yet to see. We're yet to see.
Can I land on this? Yes, Bright. Can I land on this? Bright. You see, sometimes we need to question the work of you, the journalist, that the profession comes with some ethics. The extent to which you put out a story that you know in the heart of your heart that it was cooked, it wasn't true, brings to question the integrity and the professional standard, and above all, the ethics of the profession, which ought to be guided jealously by fine journalists like you people.
I'm grateful. I'll give you 10 seconds. That's it.
So there is nothing like that. The never stated that it was a cooked story by Joy FM and Evans.
The police will only confirm that.
It's only fair that you give some 10 seconds.
Okay.
Let me say that the attempt to try to present His Excellency the President as a dubious character and all that did not start from today.
Who presented me?
You are saying that we are saying he's incorruptible and
no, but because he's not.
Oh, let me. You see,
that's your view. Allow him to talk.
Yes,
so why should he say that?
Not allow him to talk.
You see, it started many years ago, but in the midst of all that, Ghanaians gave him an overwhelming endorsement, and it's for one reason. It's because they've observed his conduct.
No, he deceived Ghanaians.
Allow him to talk. It's all your turn to talk.
They've observed his conduct over the years, and they realized that he's lived above reproach. Wow. In office, he still is committed to maintaining those principles. And he's the first person on record, I will not compare to others, who has gone to the extent of filing a formal complaint just on the outcome or work of an investigative journalist. So it is important we state this.
Because he's the first person who is being accused of taking money.
58.
He's the first person who has been found in the packet of GFA boss.
Also on the same page, review contract cost with partner. Former Executive Secretary appeals to NIA. And the news is that yesterday, the NIA issued cards to staff at the Jubilee House. But they having dealt with their technical challenges, a former executive secretary of the NIA, Mr. Kwame Griffith, is urging the authority to review the contract with the private partner regarding the cost of the project. He's arguing that the contract in its current form is overpriced and will not pass a value for money audit. Don't forget that the NIA had earlier issued a press statement about issues of cost and all that. He issued a counter-argument raising certain concerns and about the cost and all that. Dr. Okuboy, let me start this conversation with you. The concerns that we could have done this project with less than what we're talking about, is it right to make that argument if we do not have how much we can alternative that way?
Yes. In fact, you've taken the wind out of my sail. I am one who always advocates discussions on value for money audits, and usually the discussion is more effective and efficient when we have comparative prices, and not only the comparative prices, but what is in stock for the cost. I mean, so that let's say it's going to take, government is going to commit. We are looking at we are looking at $124 million
from government, right.
And we are also looking at 169 from the part of IMS. And totally, we're talking about $293 million. Now, we are going to issue about 30 million cards within the first 1 year. That's the estimate. Over a period of 15 years, we look at about 90 million cards.
Which will cost $1.22 billion.
That's the
15-year period cost.
And the 1.2, which was mentioned, over 15 years, also captures, how do you call it? Upgrading of systems, captures operations of work and cards and all that. But I want to stick.
And that's what the former executive says is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm coming. I want us to stick with, for now, with the first year's cost, which will handle logistics, how do you call it, operations, training and all that. In fact, I looked at the breakdown, and I saw that we are going to train over 70,000 field workers. You've seen some of the cars in Parliament, the NIA pickups, they are being rolled out, and all these are part of the first year's cost. So that is actually the real cost of the project. That's supposed to make sure that all Ghanaians get cards. So in fact, when you want to look at the cost of getting cards to every Ghanaian, we are looking at about 293 million, 124 from government, 169 from IMS. You see, in the past, NIA was giving some amount of monies. I remember, I think it was over 100 million. It was difficult. I will not say the field, but it was difficult to get the cards to citizens, even those that they registered.
Some had cards.
Yeah, I'm coming. So, compared to what this administration, I mean, the head at the leadership at NIA, obviously, once cards are being rolled out, it is quite sensible to say that they are making some progress. Now, I have looked at the contract terms, and there was a revelation. You know, NIA, the company they are engaging now to do the work, they are the same company they had the contract in 2012.
Right.
Now, in 2012, they had what they call the FIMS, that's the Foreigner Identification Management System, which was also one of the, programs to help identify Ghanaians as well as foreigners. Now, the contract terms, the pricing and the costing are not different from what is being rolled out in terms of what we have done. And what we are doing now is actually an expansion of what they had in 2012, but with some reviews in terms of the arrangement. And you see, I'm saying this because we have to be fair with ourselves as a country. The previous government went into the arrangement that led to foreigner identification management systems. And in fact, the cost estimates and pricing of what happened in 2012 is nearly the same as this, but with some reviews, like I'm mentioning. And guess what? When we came, people like Ken Ejepon have been so furious with this government because he is so convinced that for a company to have gotten the contract under the SWA government, they should be their people. So take my guys, that's Madras Security Printing, the guys he tried to propose or came with from India. And Ken is insisting that that company must be a friend of the former government.
So they should take it.
You know, I'm coming. But you see, look at what we did. You see, some of these expositions are important, right? Right. I want the public to know. This government did not want to just tread on the path of alienating anyone who dealt with the previous government. So they set up a 16-man committee of technical experts with a background in issuance of cards, security and all that. It's important to mention some of these things. We had people from NIA, we had people from SNIT, we had people from NITA and all that. What did they do? They had recommendations. This is what they said. They said that the best offer in terms of what the card was going to do was the one coming from IMS. Right. And this was a company that had dealt with NIA before we came in. Out of the 16, only 2 refused to endorse the IMS arrangement. And one of the 2 actually wrote to the presidency, itemizing reasons why we should not be party with IMS. But you had a leader, the economic management team, they all looked at this, and they said, we cannot continue with this part of politics. Where because
NDC never give this company a contract. We don't peddle that.
We'll come to you.
NDC never did.
You see, once I'm not saying
they've
NDC
been there
as the
under
president.
Exactly.
Yes, but the bottom line, the fact remains that they were there just under the government that
the previous government.
Exactly. So,
but he had been there long.
Yes. Oh, I'm not doubting that. Yes. Right. So at least this is a government that was honest enough to stick to the facts and the value for money appraisal. And what did we do? We decided to go with the offer. And you see, the NIA has given some very fine details as to why, if Ken says that $50 million could have done it, we have to take a further look. Where NIA mentioned that in India, they give you a 12-digit number, but you are not giving a card with a 148 kilobyte chip and all that. So, Bright, I am with you. If anyone has a cost estimate which can give us the cards with the same features in terms of what the cards can do, but at a lower cost, I'm always for. Yes, I'm always for.
Are we not in this confusion because in earlier, when under the previous government, 193 or 53 something, 15 was to be used. Some people had said that we could use 10 million, others had said 94. Yeah. Is that not the fallout from what we're hearing now?
Yeah, it's excellent. Let me address it in 2 ways. Number one, to have the same government setting up a 16-man committee and being told that this is the way to go, it is an indirect admission that if comments like that came, I mean, they don't stand up to the test. That's number one. And then number two, we should appreciate and understand that the values initially, I think, I'll not say he misspoke, but to have quoted the cost of a project over 15 years was sort of unnecessary. The cost, you have the cost for the year.
Right.
The previous cost we are mentioning is also the cost for the year.
No.
Please.
The entire duration. The 150 million, that's not true.
Comrade, it means that you have started your time already, so be careful. I'll start deducting your time. Please go.
Exactly. So it is clear that the foreign identification management systems, the one we're going to have in 2012, the scope and the service offers that were going to be captured in the card is not like this one. When you compare the contracts, they are not the same. That is the reason why this one, that's why we said the costing and pricing are almost the same as this one, with the exception that because of the scope, you understand? And please, people are forgotten. We paid millions of dollars and we never got the cards in the past. We don't want to be caught in those engagements for it to seem that we are still, some will say we are still in the campaign mood. Let's make progress. Let's get the card for Ghanaians so that the purpose that the card is supposed to serve comes to all of us. And this government is interested in being credited as the government whose tenure ensured that all Ghanaians, anyone resident in Ghana, got a card that identifies them.
Wow. I didn't know whether I should cry or I should laugh, but since my good friend was the one making those comments, I can only, in fact, I was numb, as a matter of fact. In the first place, it is not true that the company was an NDC friend.
He admitted it. They've been there for.
But there's nothing wrong with me re-emphasizing on that. It is not true. It is not true that people, they have done business with the President Kufuor's administration, and you should be thanking and praising NDC that when we came, we didn't sideline them. We didn't say that because they started with the MPP government, we did that. So this attempt of trying to praise this government for indeed giving contract to your friend is bankers. In the second place, the amount of money that the NDC government was going to use to execute this project was $115 million. The World Bank had estimated that we could do this for $27 million, 27 or 29, but they were not going to have certain features.
Right.
The NDC said, World Bank, give us that money. We would add the other features that we want to add, which is not different from what is being done today. All the features that are captured in this were the same features that were captured in the NDC's one, which was going to cost the taxpayer $115 million. By the way, the $115 million was not a one-year cost. It was the entire, period within which the project was going to be executed. It was going to cost us $115 million. Your unprincipled political party, led by an unprincipled presidential candidate at that time, questioned the $150 million that the NDC was going to use to execute the project. You questioned it. You said it was outrageous. You said all kinds of things. Just less than 2 years, you are spending $1.22 billion. $1.22 billion to do the very thing that the NDC was going to do at the cost of $150 million within the same period, which you berated, which you ramshackled, which you tagged, which you questioned, and on the basis on which you describe President Mahama and the NDC as being corrupt. As a matter of fact, you call us stealers. You call us thieves. We, by the way, didn't send anybody to court. Esla called President Mahama a thief. He didn't send him to court. He didn't send her to court. A+ says she's a thief, she's going to court. So I'm saying that is not true. Again, it is also not true that people didn't have cards. In fact, some people had their cards. Now you have the boss there, and I have so much respect for Professor.
But you agree the project didn't work?
I'm saying that the project, why? Just like under President Kufuor, it's a process. Now once you roll up the program, then you begin to be solving some of the problems therein. Under this one, how many times haven't they postponed even the start of the project? So it is not a case that the project didn't. In fact, the project started. Some people actually had cards. Do you know how much they are charging foreigners? Over $100. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. Is it because they are foreigners that they charge that? Now you have the boss there who has been accused by no less a person than the person you are eulogizing today, Canada, Japan. That Professor Atefua took land. That he took land to be able to give the contract.
You want to repeat the allegations?
Why am I prevented from repeating the? Look, we are discussing right. Please. I haven't said it's a fact. I am saying that it's an allegation.
Right.
Now the gentleman is not just any ordinary person. He's a member of the legislature. As a matter of fact, the hero and the blowman of the MPP. the person they have asked to question the integrity, the moral stature of the EC boss, the same person they have employed to question the integrity of Anas, they clapped him, they cheered him on. Please, I'm saying that they cheered him on when he was attacking the integrity of the EC board, called her all sorts of names, but a prostitute. A married woman, they cheered him on. They cheered him on for attacking Anas until this charade of trying to insulate the party from, it's not even, the majority leader is not the party. None of the national executive members of the party, nor the Flagstaff House, questioned the needless attack on Anas. And I'm saying that same person said that Professor Atefua took land as bribe to be able to award the contract. Now, Professor Atefua issued a statement. And they think that that should bring to closure of this serious and fantastic allegation of corruption. Now, if Professor Atefua issued a statement, it is his word against the words of Mr. Kennedy Agyapong. Now, culture says there are three sides to every story. Your side, my side, and the truth. You see, right, this government has considered corruption as a musical instrument, and they play it like a flute. Now, if the allegation, don't you think that the so-called incorruptible president should be interested in investigating to establish or otherwise whether the allegation made by Kennedy Agyapong on the basis of Professor Atefua taking land as bribe to award the contract to the company, isn't that interesting?
Should that be made public?
I said that no investigation is even being done.
You are sure about it?
Why? Wouldn't they announce that, yes, we are instituting an investigation into the matter? Running a government is not like running a chop bar somewhere. Now, you have a moral duty and a responsibility. As if that was all. Professor Atefua himself in his statement said that Kennedy Agyapong threatened him. This is a criminologist. A criminologist who doesn't see any need to report a threat of your life to the police, only for you to come out today to tell us that Kennedy Agyapong indeed threatened you. You didn't see the need. A criminologist, for God's sake. Again, the statement that Professor Atefua issued indicted government. In his statement of defense, he said that the contract didn't go through the processes of procurement. That it was a directive from the office of the president or the vice president. Now, wouldn't that be an interesting thing that we, citizens, not spectators like my brother, don't you think we are interested for the betterment of good governance, corporate governance, transparency and accountability to investigate to find out how can you award such a contract through a directive from the presidency? Now, on the basis of the fact that you had expert who sat on it, the work of expert on any particular project doesn't take the position of a legally procurement process. So
you
now, if you have an expert
that indeed it didn't go through procurement,
read the man's own statement, assuming without admitting it even went through procurement. Now, that procurement would have been influenced by the directives from the presidency, because Professor Atefua in his own statement said it was a directive from the presidency because experts had sat on it. Experts sitting on anything doesn't take away the responsibility and the legal responsibility of following through the procurement process established by law. Now, even if it went through the processes of procurement, which I don't think it did, because there isn't any information contrary to this view and this position that I have taken. But assuming without admitting that, even after the directive was given, they decided to go through the process, don't you think that that process would have been compromised because a directive had been given from the presidency? So there is more than a million reasons to demand an investigation. And if I were Professor, if I were Professor Atefua, I would have resigned. By the way, India has a population of almost 1.3 billion people. India is doing the same project within the same period, and they are spending $1.7 billion. 1.3 billion people. We have a population of less than 30 million, and we are spending 1.2 billion. When we say, they say, oh no, the point is that it is not the total cost. And in their desperate attempt to deceive the people of this country, you are telling us just 1 year cost. Let me remind them. On the issue of the Bank of Ghana project, the vice president came out and said that the money was too much. When in actual fact, the money was about a long 25 years. Now, I have also listened to another funny argument that is being peddled by the NPP and their communicators. And that argument is that, no, NCA, the National Identification Authority, and for that matter, government is contributing an initial amount of a little over $120-something million. The private entity is contributing. Private entity is not for the Christmas. Every private venture has one intention: minimize costs and maximize profit. And by the way, they have soon forgotten that long before this brouhaha, they had issued a statement and said the government was contributing a little over $500 million and that the private entity was contributing about $800 million. They had issued earlier statement. Suddenly they come and they take only the cost for 1 year without telling us the total cost. At the end of the day, the over 800 or almost $800 million that is going to be supported by the private entity, they will take it from the taxpayer. Now, the people of this country, and that is why I question the hypocrisy sometimes. Section of the clergy, could you imagine if this thing was done under the NDC? What the sermons would have been on the pulpit? What the so-called civil society groups would have done? What the media would have done?
The argument has always been that, well, there doesn't seem to be any alternative. So why would you want the clergy to talk if, I mean, it is expensive, but there's no...
That is extremely insulting. I mean, that is extremely insulting that there isn't any alternative. Now, couldn't they have done the same things the NDC was doing? There is no any difference between what the NDC wanted to do at the cost of $115 million for that long period of time and this. Why are they spending $1.22 billion only for them to come out and start quoting the figures that was provided by 2000?
I haven't finished. No, he's wrapping up, then I come to you. Wrap up, let me quickly go to Dr. Okoboy. Okay.
Yeah, in some of his comments, he said some were allegations. You asked him whether about ESLA, A+ and ESLA. I think it is only fair, in fact, it's responsible that you don't, if an allegation is without substance,
you don't repeat it.
Because
on what basis? Hold on.
Once you admit,
I mean, spare me.
I'm not sure you want to repeat the
Please, Bright. Let's get this very clear. Let's get this.
No, that's my opinion.
Every issue of corruption. On what basis did ESLA call President Muhammad Tif?
That's my opinion.
That is his opinion.
Yes. But I was the one talking.
Right.
So in preferring his opinion, he must stifle me of my opinion.
Right.
He has not.
Right.
But that's what he's doing.
See, this is a wonderful opportunity to explain some things to your viewers. Because IMS had some form of contract with NIA before we came in. I'm talking about the existing one. When we started to engage them, so honestly, the agreement framework is the same that were approved by Public Procurement Authority before we came. So this is
that's not true.
Oh, please. Let me.
It's not true.
You think it's different?
It's not true.
Yes.
All right.
Good. Yes. I'm making an exposition. Now, there were complaints by a significant person like Ken. When because we were going to carry on what before we came. After we were convinced that we only had to expand. That's when people like Ken started raising issues that they could provide. I'm talking about my senior, Kennedy Chipon, sorry. They could provide someone with a better offer.
Right.
This is what led government to issue the directive that, how do you call it,
the private partner?
This is what, in fact, please, this is what led to the 60-man committee to go through and see whether some of the anxieties or issues being raised have merit. So government was compelled. So the NIA, the NIA was actually.
Comment. I think you are distracting.
Yes. Then the NIA was.
That's not fair. I was the one talking. I was the one talking. He chipped in, and I remained quiet. You are now accusing me for distracting.
No, I am accusing you. You are distracting.
I'm saying I was the one talking. He chipped in. You didn't tell him to allow me to finish.
You are distracting. Please allow me.
Right.
Please go on.
We all have agreed that government is a continuum.
No wonder you are all in suit.
We've all agreed that government is a continuum, and we had a situation where NIA decided to go on an arrangement that had been approved by Public Procurement Authority and all that to expand the arrangement. Wow. And then we had some of our own saying that change the agreement. In fact, throw it away. So as a responsible government, we decided to form this 16-man committee, technical committee. And their recommendations virtually endorsed what was there. So because government was interested in making sure that Ghanaians get these cards, that's where the directive came. So the directive, actually, let me read what the directive. Okay. The directive was not about going into a contract. It was about engaging the one who's already won the bid about the modalities to ensure a rollout.
That is so it was a directive to sidestep.
Exactly. So this, I'm reading. Right. Yes, I'm reading.
Okay, please go ahead.
By the letter dated.
Don't allow him foster this false.
Oh, please.
No.
This is a new contract.
Any clarification, I'll get you to
do that.
Please go ahead.
Yes. So the directive, like I said, was to make sure that they go. And this is it. He said, by the letter dated 22nd May 2017, government directed the National Identification Authority to immediately engage with Identity Management Systems and subsidiary management to agree on modalities to ensure the efficient rollout of the National Identifications, the NIS project, no later than 15th September 2017. And please, for the records, the arrangement after this directive went through the Public Procurement Authority again. It went through the Economic Management Team, Public Investments Division of Ministry of Finance, the Public-Private Partnership Committee at the Ministry of Finance, the legal unit at Auditor General, and it went through all these groups to ensure that what comes out is credible, has value for money, and will achieve the intended purpose.
Right. This attempt to peddle such falsehood won't be allowed to stand. He creates the impression, and by extension concluding, that this was not a new contract that this government entered into. It was a continuation of what was started. That is absolutely false.
It was a new one?
It's a new contract.
Yes. That's what you think.
It's not what I think. That is what the fact is. It's even preposterous of people attempting to suggest that.
And it's a reflection.
That is absolutely. Look, I don't want to say it's a lie, because I still hold him with some reverence. He's a very good friend. But I'm saying that it is absolutely false.
And right.
Hold on, right.
I'm not interjecting. He's still insisting that.
Right, and he's also
after that committee's recommendation,
that
document went through procurement.
And the last one, let me interject the last time. The Indian one, they were not giving cards. They were not issued with cards. You are only giving a 12-digit number. Nobody got issued with a card with a 148.
Wrap up for me. I'm getting ready for it.
I was talking, he interjected, you allowed
so now
in the first place, it is not true. This thing is a process. The Indian one, they will be given cards. So don't peddle that falsehood. In the second place,
is there a 148 kilobyte card?
In the second, you see,
stop
these terms.
Right, the capacity is important.
Stop these terms. Theirs is even more advanced than ours. In the first place, can I finish?
We are all finishing.
Please. Okay. In the second place, this is a new contract. In the third place, between what he says here and what the head of the institution said in a statement he issued, which one should I take?
No, but I'm reading his statement.
Professor Atefua himself
said,
granted that it went through the procurement.
Right,
granted it went through the
Public Procurement Authority.
Granted it went through the process.
Approval by the Public Investment Division.
Granted it went through the process.
Review and approval.
The fact that the man himself admitted and stated in his statement that it was a directive from the presidency tells you that process was compromised.
No, it's about modalities.
I am grateful.
The directive was to agree on the modalities for the rollout of
the cards. They can watch President Nanado and the Vice President with all the perfumes in Arabia. They'll still be smelling corruption.
I am grateful, gentlemen, for your time.
Because they are corrupt.
I'm grateful. Dr. Bernard Okuboy is a member of Parliament for the Jukuku constituency, a member of the NPP, and Committee Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed is a member of the NDC, a former Deputy Trades Minister and former MP for Nanto. I'm grateful for your time with us. Stay with us. There's more on the show.
Welcome back. Let me just wish James Opari in Adabraka a happy birthday, and it's coming from James Tete here. He's Biggie Blay. He says, happy birthday to you. May God richly bless you. But let's go and talk about mental health in Ghana. And I'm joined by Dr. Kwesi Osei. He's the CEO of the Mental Health Authority here in Ghana. Good morning, Dr. Osei.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you yourself?
Very fine, thank you.
Great. But yesterday we had good news coming in that you have received your first budgetary allocation for the year 2018. How does that make the Mental Health Authority and the 3 mental health institutions feel?
Well, that's great. And we want to thank the Ministry of Health for having made that release, and of course the Minister of Finance. Even though it's not much, but at least it will make sure that we will be able to sustain ourselves for a few weeks whilst waiting for a more sustainable means of funding. So what this will do, earlier, the psychiatric hospitals, they owed a lot of debts to their suppliers who earlier were supplying on credit with the hope that when you had money, then you pay them. But they themselves had run into trouble because we are not paying. So this, and therefore they were stopping further supplies. This would make us to be able to pay a little bit of it and therefore renew our confidence for them to bring more.
Right.
So that's not bad.
But I mean, you've had this discussion over many years where the Mental Health Authority, and particularly you, seem to be going on a rampage demanding that what is due you rightfully comes to you. But year in, year out, you seem to have to voice it out to get what is rightfully yours. As a Mental Health Authority, as of now, what is your stance when government takes these entrenched positions to deny you of what you need?
Well, in fairness to them, I wouldn't say it's an entrenched position. However, the fact remains that we are not getting what's due. We have given them what we believe is a sustainable approach to funding. What we are getting, stopgap measure, we come, we cry, a little is given to us, we come back to square one the next day. We need that sustainable funding. In fact, together we all agree that it is not likely that the government will at any time be able to give us all that we need.
Right.
And therefore, let's get everybody involved. The populace, everybody, the civil society, everybody involved. So when the law, Mental Health Act was crafted, there was a point put in it that we will have mental health fund established, and that fund would largely be fed by mental health levy.
Right.
So it requires an airline legislative instrument to operationalize that. We are having challenges getting the airline passed, and in fact the levy being established. So if you get the airline with the levy, then we know that everybody, as you go about your normal duties, purchasing everything, you are contributing to the fund. Then we know we have sustainable means of funding. We wouldn't need now and then to go to the government to go and beg to plead. That is the challenge, why they are not implementing, why they are not establishing. That actually beats my imagination. In fairness again to them, this is a levy and therefore tax. And well, this government is not exactly in favor of taxes, we agree. But we are not saying you should necessarily establish a new tax. It could be part of existing taxes. Take just a bit of here and put them together. If you look at, let's say, talk tax, you can look at NHIS levy, you can look at what we call sin tax. If you take alcohol and tobacco, because the government wants to discourage you from taking, they put some tax on it.
Right.
Part of that could be taken. So sin tax, get fund. If you get some 4 areas and put together, that will not be a new tax, but it will be a means of getting funding for us. This should not be too difficult.
Right.
And now Parliament is even saying that they want us to decouple the tax, the levy from the airline. If we pass the airline without the levy, we've come back to square one. It's zero. It doesn't help us in any way. So Parliament, again, we are appealing to you, we are pleading with you, that if you really want to help us, don't decouple the two. Urge the Minister of Finance to establish it, and then pass it. And then you'll be through all these problems.
Very well. Dr. Kwesi, I'm sure people don't seem to understand where this sustainable source of funding is coming from and what the issue with the LI and the levy is. So kindly walk us through what was proposed by the Mental Health Authority concerning the LI. What exactly was to be passed in Parliament when you talk about the LI?
The LI, you know, are a form of, or method of passing laws in Ghana. We have the parent law, and then we have the enabling subsidiary legislation. That's the LI, legislative instrument. Now, the parent law just gives the skeleton of what is to be done, and the LI goes further into the details. One such thing is the establishment of the means of funding, which is the levy. So the LI is to have the levy as part of it. Other things the LI will provide, for instance, as at now, if you tie your sister or your daughter's hands and take her to the hospital because she's aggressive, and I agree with you that she's aggressive and I admit her, the daughter or the child will not have any means of redress, assuming she does not agree that she's actually ill. Now the LI puts in a mechanism of establishing mental health review tribunal. There are some forms that will go with it. So you need to fill some forms, a certificate of agency, a second person will need to countersign, and then the law backs you that there is a reason for you to be admitted. This cannot be done if you don't have the LI, because those forms are part of the LI. So once you pass the LI, then you have the forms. Many other things that the LI will give the power, the legal backing. So without the LI, it means that our functioning cannot be really very effective, and the implementation of the law can really not be very effective.
Very well. So currently, in the absence of the levy, does it mean the only source of funding the Mental Health Authority relies on is the budgetary allocations?
Exactly. Now let me put it this way, that the Mental Health Authority headquarters itself is supported by a donor, development partner, DFID. But And that was by an agreement between the DFID and the Minister of Health,
right,
which comes to an end at the end of this month, June. Today is 5th, right? So June 30th, that agreement comes to an end. So that support that they were giving to the Mental Health Authority to run some specific activities agreed upon in the MOU, all those things are coming to an end. But those activities did not include support for the psychiatric hospitals. Okay. So they are two different things. Okay. So DFID funding doesn't go to support psychiatric hospitals. Right. It goes to support some specific activities of the authority. Now, the question still remains, so if it comes to an end, what do we do?
Exactly.
Really, we don't have any hope. And that's why we said in that case that we might not be able to even open the doors of the authority. But now that we've had a little, maybe you'll be able to sustain ourselves whilst we try to negotiate for further.
Very well. Well, the Mental Health Authority has also been highlighting certain other issues concerning some, postgraduate training being absorbed by government. How far has that gone? Because that will come a long way to help the authority.
The good news is that recently at a meeting between the Minister of Health and the Ghana Medical Association, I think Ghana Medical Association launched its upcoming anniversary. And the Minister made a promise that not only mental health training generally, the ministry is going to absorb the postgraduate training. And that would be very, very useful. Because until recently, there was brain drain of doctors in particular, health personnel generally, and doctors in particular. And I keep saying that when doctors went outside, it was not so much to go and see greener pastures, but just for the prospects of postgraduate training. Medicine in particular is such that if you don't go for further training and you are a medical officer, there is a lot more that you really can't, your competence is not exactly up to scratch. So doctors always want to go outside for postgraduate training. But now that we have the Ghana College, they are happy to do it here, and that's stemmed the tide of the brain drain. But now if you put impediments that they have to pay their fees and whatnot, then it means the brain drain is coming back, and in fact, it shows that it's coming back. So we are happy that this intervention is coming. Now we have about 18 doctors in training for psychiatry. And just last week, we had interview for some 9 people who are also joining. All that's very good. So if we absorb the training, the cost of training, it will encourage more to come. And the short, maybe 4 or 5 years, you'll have a lot more psychiatrists that would support in the mental health care delivery.
Very well. Also, you've been talking a lot about the, abuse of human rights that comes as a result of not having this adequate funding. How far has that gone? Because ideally, if the government itself is inflicting on its people some form of human right abuse, who has the recourse to take them on?
In fact, you are right. If government is not giving us enough money to support mental health care, that actually amounts to human rights abuse. I call that state-sponsored human rights abuse. You are right. Well, the good news, fortunately, is that the law and the airline, they have adequate structures to curb human rights abuses. We've started implementing some of them, and we'll go further. For instance, on chaining patients, we have gone to remove a number of patients from chains all over the country, and that's certainly very good. But you need to go further. We've developed training guidelines, which we will bring all traditional healers and faith-based healers, prayer camps, who are engaged in, they claim, healing mentally ill. You'll bring them for training, for them to recognize what they can do and do that well, and recognize what they cannot do and refer them. This requires funding to bring that training. So if you're able to get the financial support, a lot can be done. And trust me, in the next 5 years, mental health care will be as you can get it anywhere in the, at least, middle-income country.
But I mean, over the years, what would you say mental health looks like? What are the prospects for mental health? Because we come very far, but people still have the opinion that if anyone, mental health has to be overt. But there are covert ones that don't allow people to even come to the hospital because maybe they don't recognize it. In your view, where do you think we're going? Have we made any strides?
A little, yes, we have. Until the law was passed, if you ask me on a scale of 10, where would I put mental health care in Ghana? I would say 2 over 10.
Okay.
Now, on the scale of 10, I would say maybe 4.5 over 10. So we've made some progress, but it's not good enough. I didn't say 5, meaning that it's not good enough. But the process are great. Given that the substantive law has been passed and all the structures are there, if we take the next steps of establishing the airline or passing the airline, establishing the levy, it's really very bright. So I'm really optimistic in spite of the challenges that we face today. I'm optimistic. If you're able to do that, mental health care will go very high. Yes, I agree with you. In terms of the illnesses, the understanding of the ordinary person of mental illness is really not great. We think if you are mentally ill, you are mad. And by mad, you are on the streets, naked. No. It makes us not recognize the other illnesses, which are even more than the madness. For instance, somebody gets up this morning, nice, in tie, everything. But when he left his room, he stepped outside, he felt that, I hadn't closed my door, or I hadn't locked it. So he goes back to check. He realizes that he's locked. He steps back and says, no, I haven't. And that can go on 10 times, obsessive compulsive disorder. This is a mental illness, but it's a minor type. Somebody gets up, he meets colleagues or somebody, no, I won't shake your hands. He says so in his mind because the hands are dirty. Or if he shakes, he'll go and wash 10 times, 15 times. Mental illness. Somebody cannot be on canopy, kakum canopy walk. Because the height, he looks down and it looks like the ground is opening for him to enter in the fear of height. But it's not madness. So there are many other kinds. Somebody goes to bed, burning sensation in the head, cannot sleep, all over the bed. Mental disorder. Of course, there are other things that can give rise to similar conditions. But what I say is that those minor disorders are even more than the obvious ones. And the education is what we need people to recognize that. That comes in with a question of we having to go out to educate, find money.
Money. But finally also, do you think our cultural and traditional settings have impeded us in making the advancement we need to make when it comes to mental health?
That's also true. We tend to spiritualize everything. Ghana, we are very religious, and I'm happy with that. So that's good. It's not bad in itself. But we tend to take our religiosity to superstitious dimensions, to the extent that everything, you wake up in the morning, you sneeze. Somebody is doing it. What has sneezing got to do? Or you didn't look well enough when you're walking and you stumble over some stone. The witches in my village. You don't prepare for your examinations and you fail. The witches in my village. So these are the issues. You take to drinking and you drink, you'll get intoxicated. You get addicted, such that you have to drink compulsorily. The witches have put a barrel in my tummy. So we tend to spiritualize everything. That becomes unfortunate. But again, we need to educate, not only educating, because if you educate me to understand, and you don't have the structures for me to attend to my health. So the education is important, plus putting in the structures, getting medications, getting all the resources. So the little education you give me, I go there, I get my treatment, I'm well, everybody sees me, I'm well. They will believe that, yes, this is a condition that is here on earth, and you can be treated.
Finally, let me take your view on the tramadol abuse and its heightened, use amongst the youth in Ghana. What's your take on that?
That's unfortunate. But again, it's an indictment on all of us as a society. Yes, we need to educate the youth more. The youth will need to understand that drugs won't help you. If you want to make progress in life, drugs won't help you. Tramadol in itself is a very useful drug, but it is given for a purpose and prescribed. If you go and take it because you want to boost up your energy, because you want to have enjoy sex, for a short period, yes, it will give you the energy, but then eventually it leads you into addiction, and that becomes a problem. So we need to educate more, but also it means the government and all of us will need to put in place rehabilitation services all over the country. So Kumasi, Tamale, we need to get these services. So those who really want to stop or who recognize that they have a problem can then go to these services, for these services to help them. And it all boils down to money again.
But I have been speaking to the CEO of the Mental Health Authority in the person of Dr. Kwesi Osei. We have been talking about the funding that they have received from government and also the many other sources of funding that they can get to make it sustainable so that he doesn't keep on going talking about funding for Mental Health Authority. Indeed, we all have to recognize that there is a thin line between sanity and tipping over into insanity. So whilst we're all well, we may as well start talking about it actively to get the fans there in case you and I tip over to the other side. We'll take a break with this. We'll be back.
Welcome back. It's Tuesday and we're getting to the close of the program. Happy birthday to Marcia Karanting of St. John the Evangelist Catholic Church from Evelyn Timma here at TV3, and to my own big sister Harriet Hughes. You're 50 years today. You look 22. And to Reverend Father Obed Kwao, it's your birthday today as well. If it's your birthday, enjoy it. But as we get ready to go to the Accra International Conference Center to see the much talked about number 12 by Anas. Take a look at this quickly. When we return, we'll have a conversation with the GJA's Vice President, Linda Santi. She's already seated. Take a look at this. So there you have it. The much talked about. If you haven't got a ticket yet, I mean, just go onto our Twitter pages at News on TV 303 FM 927 or New FM 95.1 Connect FM. There are some questions that you need to answer. Follow the hashtag, and you may just get a free ticket to go see for yourself the Anas video either on the 6th or the 7th of the June. It's tomorrow and tomorrow next. But happy birthday also to Audrey Tekadlo of the Ghana Journalists Association, your treasurer. He took off after Linda. Linda, welcome. Good morning. How are you doing? Great. Are we ready for tomorrow?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
All is set.
When you say all is set, what exactly do you mean?
Well, I think even as I was told, tickets ran out. They had to reprint, and it's like the demand is very, very high. People are actually in demand of it, and people are also eager to watch the details of that video.
I see. Has the GJ been, I know you've been supportive, but have you been satisfied with the modus operandi of Anas Arimaya Anas, how he gets the information and puts it out there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Johnny. Yes, we are. As a journalist, we are being binded by the code of ethics of the profession. And what Anas is doing currently doesn't contravene any of our code of ethics. If you look at the code of ethics, Article 13, which also talks about how to obtain information, videos, illustration, and what have you. It talks about you need to do it straightforwardly, honestly, openly. But then, if it contravenes or if it's being tempered by public interest, then you have to find other ways and means of getting the information. And I think that is what Anas is doing now. If Anas should come in reality with a real face, questioning you about your integrity, not integrity, but then what you do in order for him to get information, definitely the next time he comes to you, wouldn't open your doors to him. And the nature of the investigations that he's doing, he needs to do it undercover in order to get the real information that he's looking for. And for us, we see him to be doing exactly that. Once it doesn't go against the code of ethics of our profession.
So for you, say he's not flouting any of the ethical conditions that the GJA has. I remember at the World Press Freedom Day conversation at the KMPC Gold Coast Hotel, one of the things that came up was the ethics of his job. He was empaneled, and he says that, well, he sees nothing wrong with it. But then there was also a matter about protection, which the GJ subsequently issued a statement to say that the police should protect him and all of that. Why would you call for protection for him?
Well, based on the comments that came up and the fact that his locations, were revealed, where he stays, where he works, we saw it as a threat to his life, not only him, but then his property and the family as a whole. And we thought we needed that protection for him, just to make sure that he's well protected and he actually embarks his duty.
Do we know if this protection has been provided for us?
We had a conversation with the police, the CID people, and we are still in talk, with them. Talking to Anas, we haven't actually had the needed information that we are supposed to get. And last night the president was supposed to call him. This morning we haven't spoken before coming here, so I wouldn't know. But then we still have some engagement with the police. Yes.
Then let me talk about entrapment. and that he lures the people to. So somebody puts up an analogy that it's just like the policeman who hides behind the road sign, knowing that the road sign is not so visible, hides behind it. Once you cross it and you falter before the law, he flags it and says, I have got you. They talk about entrapment. What has the GJA got to say about it?
Well, I would say that, Johnny, if you are somebody who is not corrupt and you are being seduced, no matter what, if you know that you are not the type, why do you allow yourself to be entrapped? If you know that you are not corrupt and I'm being forced, I am forcing you to take something. If it is real you wouldn't take it. No matter what.
There's an analogy that somebody put up, says, well, he went to, for example, the courts and sought to speak with a judge. So he asked one of the guys there to lead him to the judge. The guy said, well, the judge is not available. He impressed upon him. He went in to meet the judge. The judge said, okay, let me meet you. And then when he was done with everything, he gave the man 20 cedis and captured that as if you like, the man being corrupt and accepting bribes. Is that fair? If you fell into that situation, would you consider that allegations?
These are all allegations.
They are all allegations.
These are all allegations. So for me, I think that is why we have the law courts. If you think he's doing something that is not right, the law courts are there.
Right.
Gather your facts, send him to the law court, and then let the law deal with him.
The Right to Information Bill has been on the back burner, now it's on the front burner. Do you think that if we have the Right to Information Bill, we'll have a lot more analysis up here in the interest of the public?
I'm wondering. You need to have a certain high level of courageousness to undertake this kind of task. And I'm wondering whether we'll have a number of analysis type in this country. You need to be very courageous, you know, despite all odds. You need to be very courageous. But in a way, yes, we will, but then I don't think it will get
Is the GJA looking at nurturing, I know that you have chapters in the schools, is the GJA looking at nurturing the interest of people to take on this kind of journalism?
We've actually had quite a number of them express an interest in doing that. But it's a passion.
Right.
Once you have the passion, why not? The GJ is there to support you and give you the necessary protection.
I see. So in wrapping up, we're going to the conference center tomorrow to see the number 12 video. What are your expectations? I gather you have seen a bit of the footage already, but what are your big expectations for tomorrow?
Yeah, looking at the demand, I'm expecting a lot more people, you know, to fill the hall, and also just to allay whatever fears that people have. It is better for us to have a look at the whole video, know what it entails before we probably pass judgment.
Right. Yes. I thank you very much. Linda Santiaje is the Vice President of the Ghana Journalists Association, and they're solidly behind internationally acclaimed investigative journalist Alas Aremeyanas. Happy birthday one more time to you, Audrey Dekadlu of the Ghana Journalists Association, our treasurer. You are how old? 54 today. Don't mind me, we'll be right back after this break.
46.
Welcome, man. It's Tuesday. You know how we do it here.
Why is it becoming a naughty boy?
It's becoming too dark. No, I was trying to learning a few choruses.
But they're not shouting in the song, they're singing.
My voice has to
allow him so he will be heard. It's okay, man.
Oh, goodness. That's a good one.
Show. Happy 50th birthday to my big sister, Harriet Hughes. She cooked some amazing jollof. You should taste it, you know.
I hope she brings us some today.
I'm not too
sure.
sure.
Let's visit her.
Yes, we will.
Yes, it's a birthday. Kendra Matt.
She'll bring small, but when you go there,
you get more. It's true. That one you choose your choice.
With the under.
That's right.
Kendra Matt, CEO, happy birthday to you, Harriet Hughes. From all of us here and from your friend Beatrice Ajimani here at TV3. Happy birthday, 50th anniversary to you. Also to you, Reverend Father Obed Kwao. Happy birthday. And also to our own Audrey at the GJA, happy birthday. And Marcia Kranting St. John the Evangelist Catholic Church from Evelyn Tema, happy birthday.
And good morning to all workers of Achimota Hospital. Of course, when I don't send shout outs, they're like, hey, Doc. But I mean, this morning, good morning to you. I know you're at work, so you may not see this, but people will tell them. And we're happy, we're proud of you and the work you do. Keep doing.
Doc, you have dogged us.
Yes.
Special shout out to Anas Aremeya Anas.
Oh, yes, one in town.
I heard
the hottest
someone
man
trying to mention his name, but I was a bit scared.
It was a mouthful, eh?
Tilapia says, well, the $98 million Kelny GVG bout. It comes to the photo of what looks like the Minister for Communications and Franklin Kujo, Mani Africa boss. That's a jab right there at the stomach. But why is the minister wearing earring? You know, you wear earrings in a boxing ring. Yeah. So the telcos are on the side of Franklin, okay, and the Kelny GVG is by the minister side, the red and blue corners. Okay, there we have it. But Franklin Twiff is fighting with a woman.
Yeah, but why are Franklin's shorts, I mean, almost up his navel?
You know, his stomach is like...
He looks like
it's glorious.
Mike Tyson in those days.
Yeah.
When it was 20, 21, 22.
Yeah.
But Esther looks like a fierce fighter.
Yeah, she doesn't give up.
She's,
yeah, she doesn't.
Her
And I like the way she's standing.
Posed,
like
exactly.
Yeah, she's taking her stand. You know,
very strong. Yeah. She will fall. She's not going down without.
Tilapia is a bad boy. I know Tilapia will put something about Anita D'Soso and the President Rollins shortly.
Tomorrow is a big day for I'm sure those of you are trying to, will be wanting to go and see what Anas has.
But I'll be happy to know the security detail ahead of, you know, the day as well, because we know some miscreants will find themselves in there to create some commotion, and I'm interested in finding out what the police is planning to do.
Well, I know that for all his exposés that I've had a chance to see, security is very well thought through, and you know, because of the caliber of persons who also attend. Exactly. You know, former presidents will be there, former ministers of state, some big wigs will be there.
And it's heightened because now we know clearly that some people do not want it to be to be aired. So I think that a lot more work will have to be done to ensure everyone who goes there is safe.
A special good morning also to my own brother Latif Abubakar and the rest of the team out there. Keep up the good work. And to Anas Aremeya, Anas, whoever you are, good morning to you. Some of us know you, but I've seen some of the pictures. It's all right. Maybe anyway,
it's not my real face.
Yeah, it's not that real face. It's not that
maybe
real
in the course of getting the end of the year, I'll show my real face.
Or if you like,
I hope your real person
has
is not
been
bald,
using the Samanano? Has Anas been using the Samanano? Like
he uses the He probably has. You know, his hands sometimes have different colors. Like he says, he can be, you know, multicolored. He can be one color. He can be double colored. I mean, Anas is whoever he says he is. But I hope you are not Anas because. But I think the point is everyone has to be careful in their little corner. Yeah. Let's not just put the lights on the, you know, politicians, on the heads of institutions, but in your small corner, whatever you do, someone is out there also watching. Let's do the right thing. Let's play fair and not foul. But let's go out there and
also
do
that corruption is not only political corruption or financial corruption.
Even in the family.
You know, if you have a pastor who says you need to fast and he is, you know, in his closet eating, that's corruption. If you have a pastor who insists that you must stay in the marriage, even if you are being abused, you must stay in there. He's praying for you and counseling you, but he is quick to go and divorce. That's corruption.